Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have been sharing the silver screen and a life together for many a year now.
My spirit was my life force.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't anything I was going to give up. My happiness would be nothing that I would give up for. No man, no thing, no nothing. A relationship in a way that when you get older, you go, oh, I'm so glad I got through whatever period that was. Do you know what I mean?
You know Goldie Hawn as the bubbly, giggling blonde who lights up every screen she touches. America's sweetheart. The woman who built her career on making others smile. But behind that infectious laugh lies decades of anxiety, family trauma, and heartbreak that she's been carrying in silence.
I had a very
Meditation.
serious anxiety problem, and it was a panic attacks. And I got that when I was dancing. I did not feel comfortable. I didn't want to go to Hollywood. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be a star, certainly.
From panic attacks that nearly destroyed her career to family betrayals that cut deeper than any Hollywood scandal. From home invasions that left her terrified to health struggles that are robbing her of her sight. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover will completely change how you see this Hollywood icon. Let's go back to the beginning. Goldie Hawn had one simple dream as a little girl: to become the best dancer she could be. It was pure, it was innocent, and it was everything to her. So she did what thousands of hopeful young women do every year. She packed her bags and moved to New York City, ready to chase her dream in the bright lights of Broadway. But New York had other plans for this small-town girl from Maryland. Goldie found herself living in what she would later describe as deplorable conditions. 4 girls crammed into a tiny apartment, barely making ends meet. She was earning just $25 a night as a dancer, and that was only when she could find work. Most people would pack their bags and go home, but not Goldie. She kept fighting, kept dancing, kept believing, and that determination would eventually lead her to something she never expected: fame. But fame, as she would soon discover, can be the most dangerous thing of all. By the late 1960s, Goldie's dancing had led her to television. She landed a spot on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, and suddenly, America fell in love with this giggling blonde who seemed to embody pure joy. But here's what nobody knew. Goldie was terrified. As a little girl, she had always read about how screwed up Hollywood was, and she wanted to stay as far away from the film industry as possible. The spotlight she found herself in was never something she wanted. And then it happened. The thing that would haunt her for years. The panic attacks started. I really didn't want to go outside. I really lost my smile. I didn't feel joyful. I was scared. I was afraid, Goldie later revealed. And, you know, it wasn't anxiety. There were like panic attacks, which are different. And, you know, your heart would race. And sometimes you didn't even know when it was going to come over you. Goldie had to work with a psychologist for 8 years just to learn how to cope with the fame she never wanted in the first place. But Goldie's personal struggles were just the beginning. As she fought to overcome her anxiety and build her career, she was also trying to be a mother. And this is where her story gets truly heartbreaking. In March 2024, her son Oliver Hudson revealed something on his podcast that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. And what he said would break any mother's heart. My mother was the one that I had almost the most trauma about. Interestingly enough, because she was my primary caregiver and I was with her all of the time. Let that sink in. Her own son, talking about trauma caused by his mother. The woman who dedicated her life to making others happy. But it gets worse. Oliver continued, I felt unprotected at times. She would be working and away, or she had new boyfriends that I didn't really like. She would be living her life. This is the impossible choice that so many working mothers face. But when you're Goldie Hawn, that choice plays out in front of the entire world. Every decision you make, every mistake, every moment when work comes before family. It's all scrutinized, judged, and remembered. And here's what makes it even more tragic. Goldie thought she was doing everything right. In interviews, she's talked about how proud she is of her children's parenting skills, attributing their success to her own mothering. But her son felt unprotected. Her son felt traumatized. How do you reconcile that? How do you live with knowing that while you were trying to provide for your family and build a career, your child was suffering in ways you never realized? But Oliver's revelation wasn't the only family betrayal Goldie would have to endure. Her ex-husband, Bill Hudson, had his own devastating accusations to make. In 2015, Bill gave an explosive interview to the Daily Mail where he made claims that would destroy any parent. He accused Goldie of parental alienation, essentially claiming that she deliberately sabotaged his relationship with their children, Oliver and Kate Hudson. "I call it parental alienation," Bill told the publication. "We had a custody arrangement, but Goldie constantly flouted it. I'd turn up to see the kids and would discover Goldie had taken them on the private jet to her home in Colorado." Think about this from both perspectives. If Bill is telling the truth, then Goldie was using their children as weapons in their divorce, denying a father access to his kids. That's unforgivable. But if Goldie's actions were justified, if she was protecting her children from something, then Bill's public accusations are a cruel attempt to rewrite history and damage her reputation. Either way, it's a tragedy. Either children were kept from their father, or a father is publicly attacking the mother of his children for the whole world to see. Bill even went so far as to say he considers himself the father of only 3 children, essentially disowning Oliver and Kate. And this isn't just private family drama. This is playing out in tabloids, in interviews, in the court of public opinion. Goldie's children have to read about their family's dysfunction in magazines. They have to answer questions from reporters about why their father doesn't claim them. But family drama wasn't the only nightmare Goldie had to face. In what should have been the sanctuary of her own home, she found herself living in fear. Goldie and Kurt Russell were living in the Pacific Palisades, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in Los Angeles. They should have been safe. They should have been protected. They weren't. In the span of just 4 months, their home was broken into twice. Twice. The first time, they had simply gone out to dinner. A normal evening, a normal date night for a couple in love. But when they came home, their sanctuary had been violated. "I went up to the stairs, and I walked into my closet, and I just lost it," Goldie recalled. "They had broken in from the balcony to our bedroom, our closets, and they completely knocked down my door, which is a safe door, so they are very, very sophisticated. And they got a lot of my goodies." A safe door. These weren't random burglars looking for quick cash. These were professionals who had targeted the Hollywood couple specifically, who had studied their home, who had planned this invasion carefully. But the second break-in was even worse. This time, Goldie was home. One of the burglars was eventually caught, a man named Marcelo Romello, but the damage was done. The woman who had already struggled with panic attacks now had to live with the knowledge that her home wasn't safe, that nowhere was safe. Goldie and Kurt eventually fled Los Angeles entirely, settling in Palm Desert. Fame had made her a target, and now she was essentially in exile from the city where she'd built her career. Then came 2020, and the world stopped. The COVID-19 pandemic brought lockdowns, isolation, and fear to everyone. But for Goldie, who had already battled anxiety and panic attacks for decades, it triggered something devastating. In an interview with Good Morning Britain, Goldie made a confession that revealed the depth of her pain. "I find that every day, honestly, I cry probably 3 times a day because it hurts me to think that there is abuse going on. There is anger going on. 3 times a day. Every day." This woman, who had built her entire identity around laughter and joy, was crying 3 times daily because the world's pain had become too much for her to bear. This is what happens when you're someone who has spent your entire life trying to bring happiness to others. You become so attuned to pain that you can't shut it out. You can't protect yourself from the world's suffering because your entire purpose has been to heal it. In a desperate attempt to cope, Goldie started a laughing challenge on social media, asking people to post videos of themselves being happy. She was literally trying to heal the world's pain by encouraging laughter, the same thing she'd been doing her entire career. But this time, it wasn't enough. The world was too broken, and Goldie was too empathetic to shield herself from its pain. As if the emotional toll of her life wasn't enough, Goldie now faces a physical challenge that threatens to take away one of her most basic abilities. At the 2025 Academy Awards, Goldie stepped on stage with Andrew Garfield to present an award. It should have been a moment of triumph, a legendary actress being honored at Hollywood's biggest night. Instead, it became a public revelation of her health struggles. "Okay, sweetheart, can you read that?" "I can't read that," Goldie told Garfield in front of millions of viewers. "I'm completely blind. I mean, I am. Cataracts?" Cataracts are common in people her age, and they're treatable with surgery. But at 79, every medical procedure carries risks. And for someone whose career has been built on her expressiveness, her ability to connect with audiences through her eyes and her smile, the thought of vision problems must be terrifying. This is the reality of aging in Hollywood. Your body betrays you just like everyone else's, but your struggles play out under the harsh lights of public scrutiny. Every weakness, every vulnerability, every moment of human frailty becomes a news story. But 2025 had one more tragedy in store for Goldie and her family. In January, the Pacific Palisades fires tore through Los Angeles, destroying homes and lives without mercy. Goldie's son, Wyatt Russell, and his family were living in the direct path of the flames. His wife, Meredith Hagner, documented their evacuation on social media, writing, "My little family is safe. Not sure about our house, but I'm so lucky. But man, do I love our special seaside community so deeply." Heart-wrenching. Thanks to Kate Hudson's generosity, Wyatt's family found temporary shelter in Palm Desert. But then they had to move again, this time to a rented house in Aspen, Colorado. Complete displacement. Starting over. Again. Throughout all of these struggles, Goldie has carried another burden that most people never consider: the weight of financial success. When Goldie started as a dancer, she made just $25 a night. But as her career exploded, so did her earning potential. By the early 90s, she had signed a $30 million deal with Disney's Hollywood Pictures. She was one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood, and that success became a relationship killer. Back in the day, I remember thinking, well, we'll just put everything in a pot. We'll do this, and it'll all be cool, Goldie recalled. But the differences began to show. When you buy a house and they don't own it, or they own part of it, but not enough. Men's egos couldn't handle being with a woman who earned more than them. Relationships that might have lasted became casualties of her success. Love became complicated by money, by pride, by the uncomfortable reality that she was the one with the power. After building one of the most successful careers in Hollywood, Goldie made a brave decision in 2002. She stepped away from acting to focus on her mental health advocacy work, founding Mind UP and writing books about psychology and brain health. It was a noble choice. After struggling with panic attacks and anxiety for so many years, she wanted to use her experience to help others. She was trading fame for purpose, spotlight for service. But after 15 years away, Goldie decided to return to acting in 2017 with a film called Snatched, starring alongside Amy Schumer. Her family was excited. Her fans were thrilled. This was supposed to be a triumphant comeback for a Hollywood legend. Instead, it became a nightmare. The film was a disaster. Despite having a talented cast including Wanda Sykes, Snatched grossed only $19.5 million in its opening week against a $42 million budget. It was a box office bomb of epic proportions. But the financial failure was nothing compared to the personal humiliation that followed. Goldie Hawn, Academy Award winner, Hollywood icon, beloved comedian, was nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst Supporting Actress. The Razzie Awards are specifically designed to mock and shame actors for bad performances. They're the opposite of the Oscars, a celebration of failure rather than success. After decades of bringing joy to audiences, after an Oscar win, after establishing herself as one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, Goldie's comeback was being ridiculed by the very industry she had helped build. Throughout all of these struggles, the panic attacks, the family drama, the break-ins, the health issues, the professional humiliations, Goldie has carried one constant burden: the expectation that she will make others happy. A huge chunk of Hawn's identity was being the funny, crazy, spontaneous girl, she once admitted. But here's the tragic irony. The woman whose job it was to make everyone else laugh often couldn't find reasons to smile herself. And if you ever let that mask slip, if you ever show the pain underneath, people are disappointed. They don't want to see Goldie Hawn struggle. They want to see her giggle. They want her to make them feel better about their own problems. This is the curse of being a comedian, especially a beloved one. You become responsible for everyone else's happiness while your own pain gets ignored or minimized. People assume that because you're funny, you must be happy. Because you can make others laugh, you must not have real problems. But Goldie's story shows us the truth. Sometimes the people who bring us the most joy are carrying the heaviest burdens. What do you think? Does knowing Goldie's real story change how you see her? Let me know in the comments below. And subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.